Thanks everybody for tuning into the podcast today. As always, I am Mike Monteforte and I am really excited about this podcast today. We have with us my good friend and colleague, Dr. Richard Maybury. He is the president of the Knowles Johnson Institute for Graduate Studies. It's a mouthful, but it's a really, really awesome thing that I can't wait to talk about and share with the people that follow us. So, Dr. Rick, thank you so much for agreeing to do the podcast. I appreciate it.
Mike, thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
I'm thrilled about this one. So, when I get excited about things, I love to share that excitement with our audience. Mm-hmm. So, let's just jump right in and talk about this because sure. I'm pumped about it. So, the Knowles Johnson Institute is a concept that started several years ago, and was kind of your baby from bringing it from where it was to where we stand now. So, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just talk a little bit about kind of the concept, sure. how it started out, sure. and then a little bit about how you brought that concept to realization from just being an idea.
Sure. Well, the Knowles Johnson Institute, KJI, is designed for mid-career and third-career adults who are looking to transform their lives. The program is designed for folks who have had a bit of a career to lots of a career. So our youngest student is 36, our oldest is 70. And they all have one common theme, one common characteristic. They all want to make a difference in people's lives. And some of them want to do it through education, some of them want to do it working within organizations, doing organizational design and organizational development. And as we both know, the world is in chaos. And one of the things that many nonprofit and for-profit corporate leaders tell us is they desperately need people who can understand the complexity. All of our students are taught in a global context. And so they need folks who can understand the complexity of organizations, their intercultural, multicultural kinds of challenges, and someone who can come in and do analysis and be the architects and navigators right. of helping the organizations move into the future. Yeah. And so our students are coming who've had a career, and now they're looking and asking themselves the question, how can I make a difference? And some are coming in to stay in the corporate world, to go back into the corporate world, doing a career transformation, and many of our third career students are going into community organizations, either as board members for nonprofits, to become executive directors, but they've accomplished professionally what they want to do, and now they want to go and make a difference in their communities.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's just such an amazing concept, and something that you and I have talked a little bit before about is this idea of lifetime learning. Yeah. Yeah. And as I had mentioned to you before we started, one of our core values here at my office is education, and we are forever learners here. Right. We never stop learning. We're constantly trying to educate ourselves and educate our clients. And you guys are really taking that concept and putting it into action.
Right, right. And what you say is very, very important. And what we find is mid-career and third-career adults are going through that psychological transformation where they're asking themselves, how do I want to be perceived? What difference do I want to make in the world? As opposed to, as we're younger in our career, we're thinking about houses, taking care of kids, and putting kids through school. And so we start that transformation, and lifelong learning is a critical aspect to that, because the model is it's a mentored education. So what that means is you have a one-on-one relationship with your professor, and you work in small collaborative student teams. It's all in person. And the students learn in the context in which they're interested in serving. So that's possible because the faculty member who's mentoring the student will ask the student, so how do you want to use what you're learning, this particular course? What's the context? So some students will say, I want to do this in a high-tech environment. I want to do this in a biopharma environment. I want to do this working in a community organization who are specializing in those kids who are coming from challenging backgrounds. Right. And so the goal is every course allows the student to take the content of that course but apply it to the context in which they want to learn.
Yeah, yeah. So that's real-world application.
Right.
One of the things that you mentioned there, too, which is I never would have thought would be a big deal, but it is a big deal, is you saying that it's all in person.
Right.
Because for the last 2 years with what we've been dealing with, so many schools having to go virtual, but then a lot of them choosing to
Right.
stay virtual.
Right.
And even with, my kids that are both in high school still, the quality of education virtually, just for them, just didn't work.
Right.
It wasn't the same as them being in the classroom.
Right.
But KJI has said, from the get-go, no, the plan is, regardless of what everybody else is doing,
Right.
keeping this an in-person learning situation as opposed to, let's enroll 10,000
That's right.
students virtually.
That's right. It's such a good point. The neuroscience is telling us in our field, we are helping people to learn about organizational dynamics,
Yep.
human psychology, the development of the people within organizations, helping them to optimize their capabilities and abilities. You can't do that online. You have to do that with real life, hands-on. Every course has a field-based practicum to it. And it's designed so that we assume that all of our students coming in are working adults. They all have families, they all have careers, right? And so our model is we work in weekend intensives. So the student is committed to coming every 4 months to 2 weekend intensives, and 2 are optional. But they meet with their faculty member when it works for both the faculty and the student members, so they can work it around their busy lives.
Yeah.
And that allows them to stay focused on the things that are important, but also be sure that that relationship with their faculty member or their mentor is sustained over the period of time that they need it.
Right. And that type of flexibility is a big deal
That's
for,
right.
especially like you said, working adults with families that are at work every
Right.
day, or
Right.
driving their kids around
Right.
and that sort of thing.
Right.
To be able to say, okay, this doesn't have to be. I'm sitting in a classroom
Right.
from 8 in the morning till
That's right.
3 o'clock every day.
That's right.
It's a way for them to be able to meet with faculty
Right.
at times that still allow them to
That's
work.
right.
And
That's right.
I think that's a stumbling block for a lot of people
It
that
is.
want to return to education,
Right.
but say, how the heck can I find the time, to do this?
That's right. That's
You know?
right. And I'm going back to what you said about the kids struggling a little bit, trying to learn from a distance versus being with other kids. That's so true. And the neuroscience is telling us that now, is that there's, in order to fully engage both sides of the brain, the affective side, the logical side, to get all of that brain integration that results in new learnings, new capabilities, there's something about the human condition. We do that best when we're co-present with people, right? And Zoom helps, but it doesn't seem to get us there.
Yeah.
And also, the magic when people get together and they start challenging one another, they start creating with one another. That can only really happen when they have those times together. So the program was built on that concept. We started the program, 11 years ago, 2010. Back in the 90s, I studied under a gentleman by the name of Malcolm Knowles and Leo Johnson. And Malcolm is the father of adult learning. He did all the seminal research on how adults learn, how they develop, and he was highly focused on student-centered learning, context that we talked about. Yeah. And it's important that the student pursues those things that are most important as to where they want to go, what their personal aspirations are. Well, in 2010, I realized that so many of the programs were now going online. And I was thinking, what we learned with Malcolm, I studied with Malcolm for 6 years, it was a transformational experience for me. How are folks getting that? So I talked to a bunch of colleagues and said, we need to start our own grad school. And they said, what? And they said, well, they weren't quite ready. And then 9 years ago, clearly the trajectory now, it was schools were going online, mostly because online helps a lot of folks who can't get to classes.
Sure.
So it's really valuable. But unfortunately, many schools were doing it as a revenue generation model as opposed to really creating enriched courses and programs. And we're capped at 600 students. And because, I did the old MBA model. And if I go beyond 600, I now have to quadruple the infrastructure. Yeah. And we want to stay really focused on our students. So we'll always be this focused boutique kind of school. So 9 years ago, I said to a group of colleagues, we need to do our own school. We need out of reverence for Malcolm and Leo worked with Malcolm. He was a mentor to many of us at the same time. We need to do a school out of there in honor of their memory and the work that they did. Well, my colleagues looked at me like I had strange ideas. You can't start a new standard school. And I said, we can. Well, one person, Kathleen Healy, said, I'm with you. Everybody else says, And so I got them. We meet every 6 weeks, and I've been doing this for 25 years as a learning community. They said, will you give me an hour of your time in every one of our meetings just to pick your brain? So they did. So we started building a curriculum. We did extensive market research. And 3 years ago, I said to the group, we're ready to do our first application to the Department of Higher Ed. They said, now they started to get interested. And now they saw the complete curriculum. And we submitted it. I think it's about 15,000 pages by the time we were done in the process, right? And so, long story short, it all came together. We built this wonderful curriculum. We've hired 30 faculty, have a half a dozen administrators, and we're hoping that our first students start in the beginning of May. But what's interesting is people say to me all the time, what you're doing is so unique. I say, it really isn't. When you think about it, this is the Socrates model. Socrates said to his students, what would you like to learn? Why would you like to learn? Why is this important to you? And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's something that I was excited about right from when I first heard about it and talked to you about the way that you were planning to do this and the way that the curriculum was going to work and the way that the learning was going to work, and recognizing, there are differences between the way kids learn and the way adults learn, and being able to say to an adult that's been in the workplace, how do you want to learn? What context do you want to learn this in? How are you going to apply this? It's something that might not work for a 16-year-old kid because they don't know what the heck is going on. But an adult, if you said that to my son, he'd be, I want to play on my phone.
That's right.
But saying that to an adult that's at a point in their lives where they're ready to, how do I give back? How do I contribute to society? How do I better myself in a way that helps others?
Right.
And you being able to say to them, how do you want to use this education? What's the real world application?
That's right.
Is just amazing to me, the fact that you can do that. And part of what you were saying, well, we're capped at 600 students because you're right about, what do we have to do once we go over 600? Right. But in order to keep the quality what it is and be able to have these relationships, if you have 10,000 students there, you know what that is. You're not having the same type of relationship with a professor or a faculty member when there's 10,000 students versus 600.
That's right. And more of the money has to go into supporting the administration as opposed to the students. So we optimize the model where the maximum amount of money that we can bring in to sustain what we legally have to sustain as an infrastructure goes to the students and the student experience.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Like I said, I get you saying, oh, it's not a new thing. This is what Socrates does. But, it was just such a refreshing new concept to me in hearing about it and just, again, made me super excited to know about it and help support it. Would you mind talking just a little bit about the courses of study that are available? Because I know people would be interested in that.
So our students are coming from, we have a focus and a support system for veterans. We have a number of veterans who are coming out of the military who now take their leadership skills and their team skills that they've used and want to transition them to the private sector. And we also are finding out that a number of single moms and dads who want to go back to school, who've sort of dedicated their time to their families and now are at the place where they can do this. And so what we're doing is trying to create an environment that supports their efforts in that sort of personal transformation. And so there's a core curriculum. You get a master's and doctoral degree together. You can do the master's alone if you want, but most of our students are doing them together. And there are 9 specializations that include adult learning, the neuroscience of learning, which actually turns out to be one of our most popular right now, global organizational design, organizational leadership in healthcare, organizational leadership in nonprofits, instructional design. So it's all around integrating capabilities on synergizing the design of the organizations with the optimizing of the people's capabilities and in support of the business, whether this business is a nonprofit or it's a global corporate business.
All right. Fantastic. So if we've got people out there that are at this point in their lives and they're looking for this type of opportunity and to go back to school and have learning in this way, which I think is awesome. How do they do it? How does somebody apply? Do we go to the website? What do we do?
Two ways. One is go to the website and go under admissions, so they can follow a process, or they can give me a call. We're early stage, and I'm talking to every potential student and all of our friends and partners. We're also finding that the students who are coming in, our goal is 10 students for the first cohort, and it looks like we're going to have a few more than that.
Okay.
They are talking to friends who are giving me calls, and so it seems like our best marketing are the students who are coming in.
Yeah.
We did 4 rounds of extensive market research, and we're the only school in the country with our learning modalities and our curriculum. And what we found, and one of the things the Department of Higher Ed said to us, one of the reasons they like us is many of the schools that mid-career adults would typically go to, what the research is telling us and what the potential students are telling us, they're not on ground anymore, they're online. And the students we're talking to all want that in-person experience, right? They want to immerse themselves, they want to work with colleagues, they want that experience. And so it's interesting, we're in an interesting place in history where something like this is fulfilling a significant need, but it's not designed to be 300,000 students like some of the online schools that we hear about all the time. So one of the things they ask us about is, so you're sort of going against the trend. Everybody's going online, and you're doing the opposite. But that's where the need is, and it will be forever. In our field of human and organizational development, it's always going to be an in-person, valuable experience. And so, folks, go back to your question. You can go on the website. You can give me a call, and we'll put the phone number up.
We'll make sure the website is there, the contact information is there.
And if you're interested, I'm happy to talk to you, but we'll also have you talk to other potential students who are, and we actually have, we've actually started a student who was part of the whole process early on, so she's been going. So you have an opportunity to talk to professors. It's important that everybody who comes makes the decision because it's the right place to be.
Right.
So they should learn a lot about how we do what we do, the experience, how their responsibilities in the learning process. And this is the kind of environment that they feel they can pursue their own aspirations.
Sure. And that demographic that you're appealing to here is a group that values education, whereas, again, I look at my kids, high school age kids, school is one of those things you have to do, not something that, get up every day wanting to do. And it's something that, you don't always find until, again, people are matured some or have worked and, realize the value of it. Even, so I give seminars on estate planning and elder law, and with COVID, we've been trying to do them online through Zoom, but even for me giving the seminar, it's not the same. The energy that we have when everybody's in the room and I'm able to feed off of people and answer questions, you just don't get that with the online experience. So whether I'm learning that way or teaching that way, it's just always going to come in second place as far as I'm concerned to an in-person type of environment. All right, so take now, we talked about for people that might be interested in following through with that type of education, how they enroll. Now take someone like me. So, I went to school for 20 years. I'm not going back. And even though I am a forever learner, it's learning that I do on my own. I don't have any plans to go back to school, but how do I help? How does someone like me, who's so in favor of what you guys are doing, how do we support you? How can we donate? How can we support? How can we help? Your mission.
That's such a great question. Thank you. Multiple ways. One is every course has a field-based practicum. So I've been developing relationships with for-profits and companies around the North Shore. Our classes are in Beverly, so that's sort of the center. But our students are from all over New England. We actually have students coming in from Florida and Pennsylvania. Introducing us or becoming partners to give our students opportunities to do field-based practicums is always helpful. Also, folks like yourself, professionals who help with our professional seminar series for students, coming in and giving some of your insights and teaching them your aspect of the world is really, really important. And the other place, of course, is helping us financially in the beginning. We will be cash flow positive in 3 years. We have a very sound model that gets us to 100 students will be cash flow positive. And because we're so student-centric, we don't have a need for a lot of facilities. We're not building buildings, right? So, and we've set the tuition to be very reasonable for the working adult, purposely. So, but in these first few years, we need help in building out the operations. We are building a scholarship fund. And some number of students are coming in who are doing personal transformations who can use a little bit of help, with the tuition. Also, we're doing some professional development work for our faculty. We have great committed faculty, and they're all coming in because they have a motivation to be co-learners with the students and be supportive. But we have to develop their broader skills in some of Malcolm's models because they all come in with the right motivation. They all come in, but we want to make sure that the entire faculty are sustaining the values that we establish about being student-focused. And it's all about the context of the student, not the context of the faculty. It's about bringing in resources to every student event that the student needs to be successful. And that's the other thing that we have that's unique amongst schools. Someone like yourself, for example, could be a consulting faculty, where let's say one of your staff comes in, and I'm their professor, and they want to do the course on abnormal psychoorganizations, which is fascinating, by the way. And they say to me, Rick, I would like to do my practicum work inside a community-based organization that's working with challenged families. And I might say, it's not really my field of expertise, but I'm going to bring in another faculty member who does. And let's say you have experience as a professional in that. We will bring you in as a consulting faculty, and you will help us design their practicum and oversee their work in the field. And so what this does, it enables all of the faculty to be available to every student in every course. And we can only do that with this one-on-one mentoring relationship. Try to do that in a class of 20. It's virtually impossible. And so folks can help us in terms of financial support, helping to put all of that together, but also if they are interested in becoming a consulting faculty and bringing their specialty to the students.
All right, that's fantastic. So we will make sure we have contact information, your website information there for anybody that wants to look towards enrolling, for anybody that wants to be able to support KJI and the mission. I'm hoping that putting this out there to clients of my firm is going to bring about some excitement among that group, because that's the way I feel about it, and I think that people are going to want to help.
There is one interesting opportunity. Folks who are donating now have an opportunity to be the founding benefactors, and those founding benefactors will forever be known as those who helped us get the school started and kicked off. And those founding benefactors are those who are giving now up until about the 1st of May, because will be our official market launch, so to speak.
Awesome. All right, Dr. Rick, can't thank you enough for doing this. I appreciate it so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.
I know that we're going to continue to talk, and I want to hear more about this as it goes on and as it grows.
Thank you for being so supportive. And I love your passion for learning, especially for those mid-career adults who are truly looking to transform their lives. So thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Dr. Rick. I appreciate it.